the News Channel 5 network, this is MorningLine with Nick Barris.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on MorningLine. Nick Barris here with you on a Monday. I hope you had a good weekend. Did you survive the hot temperatures over the weekend? Well, if you did, brace yourself because it's about to get really hot, at least according to Leland today and tomorrow. And so in keeping with the times, I think it gives us partially something to talk about, not specifically the weather, but the weather's impact on not only you and I, but our pets as well. We're going to talk about that, take some phone calls. When it gets to this extreme, what I call dangerous surface of the sun hot, what does Allison Fields, our veterinarian, think of that? Good morning to you.
Good morning, Nick. How are you?
It's good to have you. You know, is there a huge difference in your mind between when maybe we're in the upper 80s to low 90s and when we're touching a heat index of 107 potentially when it comes to your animals? It's the same thing all around, isn't it?
I look at it with me.
Yeah.
I don't really want to be outside in upper 80s, lower 90s, and lots of humidity. But I definitely don't want to be outside with the heat index at that high.
Yeah, yeah.
So we need to pay attention to the fact that, you know, they need lots of water, they need lots of shade. They ideally wouldn't be outside in this heat. And then we also need to think about the pavement. You know, we see lots of dogs who have pads burned off their feet from going on walks. I don't know, 5, 6, 6:30 at night, because that's when we get home from work. Let's take the dog out. But put your hand on that pavement.
Oh, yeah. And
if you can hold it there for a good 5 seconds, not a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but a good 5 seconds, and it hurts your feet or your hand, imagine what it does to their feet.
Sure.
So let's let everything cool down before we go on walks, or on days like this.
Go on grass.
Go on grass, or just skip the walk.
Yep.
If it's that hot.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's gotten that bad now where we'll let the dogs out sometimes, obviously to do their business, and there'd be occasions where we'll let them run around. But during the day, especially now, you know, we have a bulldog and we have pugs.
Yeah.
And they're smart enough themselves to say, come right back in.
Why is that a problem when you said we have bulldog and pugs?
Their faces, she's taught me this, and it's pretty much self-explanatory, but they've got the flat faces without the snout that doesn't allow them to cool themselves.
Yep, exactly. So the shorter the nose, the least heat tolerant they are. Okay. We just need to remember that.
Oh, yeah. And the thing about dogs, too, though, is, and I'm amazed at just how tough and hardy they can be. If it's pushed to an extreme, of course, they could collapse, but they'll go with you if you're not careful. I wish the dogs would just say, no, I'm not going.
No, they don't do.
They're
say
such
that.
loving, wonderful
I'm not going to go help you work in the yard. Negative.
Right.
But yeah, they don't. They're like, okay, we're good.
Oh, yeah. Betty would still go running after a tennis ball in this heat if I'm not careful. And she would keel over, but she'd run.
Yep.
All right, so the idea is, now, there are going to be some that are going to say, look, ours is an outdoor dog.
Sure, and as long as, so those dogs are acclimated to that.
Okay.
You know, it's like huskies in Alaska who pull sleds. If we took mashed tater and put her in Alaska in 3 feet of snow, she would die in like 3 hours.
Exactly.
But she's not acclimated to it. These dogs out there are acclimated to very cold temperatures, snow. They curl up in a ball in some hay and they're happy. They're acclimated to it. There are dogs that are outside dogs that are acclimated. They've been getting acclimated to this heat all year. They'll get acclimated to most of the cold. It's just in these extreme temperatures that we really need to pay even more attention to them. So we need to make sure they have plenty of fresh water, that they have someplace cool and protected. And dog houses, especially like the igloo dog houses, which are great in the winter, are actually almost ovens in the summer.
Okay.
So that's why dogs will dig a hole or get the grass up and have dirt, because dirt is cool. I mean, stick your hand in the dirt, it's cool.
Yeah.
So that's a cool place for them to lay and keep themselves temperature regulated.
Okay, that's interesting. I didn't know that. I remember a long time ago when we had a cat, and you told me, Nick, I know it's cold. Get a box, get one of those safety light bulbs that creates heat. I go, well, how she'll find it. And Allison was right. She found it. I'm just wondering, is there something on the other side of the coin for some of these folks who have dog houses where there's a cooling system?
Air conditioning.
Okay, literally there is. I mean, you can, get some type of air conditioning, and sure.
But it's just, think about if it's really hot out, would you rather be in a garden shed with the door open in there where there's no breeze, no nothing, it's still 98 degrees? Or would you rather be in a pop-up tent, open sides, where you might be able to get a little bit of air movement?
Right.
You'd rather have a little bit of possible air movement.
All right. And is there anything to it? Some of these dogs that are really, really, really fluffy, is it good to go get them shaved at this time of year?
This is a huge conversation in the veterinary world. There's a whole camp that says that fur acts as insulation, because if here's their skin, here's the top of their fur, there's all of this. I mean, they're not this much. We're kind of blowing it up. But there's this much insulation, air insulation, that's protecting them. Right. Whereas if then we shave it all off and we have hair to here, they get a whole lot hotter quicker.
Okay.
Then there's a whole other camp that says, oh, no, shave it off and it'll be cooler. I personally am an anti-shaver.
Yeah, just let it be.
I think the science of that is smart, but I don't know truly what the right answer is.
Okay, but the bottom line is, in this heat, whether they're shaved or they've got the long hair, keep them inside.
If they're shaved, they're more prone to sunburn. I mean, that's true. For sure.
Yeah,
so
exposing it. Yeah. Have you had many animals come in so far to the clinic this past 2-3 weeks with heat issues, or are you? That's good.
No,
and no burn paws. That's good. That's good.
I've seen a burn paw.
Okay, all right.
But I mean, 20 years ago, I saw probably at least 1 to 3 heat strokes each summer. I have not seen one in a couple of years. Where some wood.
Yeah, knock on it. Yeah, right here.
Right. So, I think people are paying attention and learning. Also, we have emergency clinics that think most of the heat strokes happen when people get off work. 5, 6 o'clock, and most of the regular clinics are closed, and so they're going to emergency clinics. So the emergency clinics are still seeing the same number of heat strokes.
Okay. Listen, another things that maybe you do or don't see, I have a friend of mine that has 2 Jack Russell Terriers.
Terrorists.
I know, that's what I said. They're wonderful dogs, and they love them dearly, but they get into everything.
Yep.
And somehow they had stepped out of the house for a while, and it was up on the counter, but they got a bottle of ibuprofen.
Yep.
Knocked it on the floor, broke it open. They come home, and they're freaked out, and they took the dogs to the vet immediately. Talk about the dangers of ibuprofen. Their animals are fine, but it was an expensive bill. And what the concerns were. They didn't know how many they would have eaten.
Which is always the problem.
Which you can't. Now, it's not as though ibuprofen tastes delicious, but the dogs could eat them, right?
Well, here's the thing. Who's ever opened a bottle of Advil and smelled it? It smells like candy. They're like almost candy coated.
Maybe the coating on the outside,
and most ibuprofen has a very faint licorice smell.
Yeah. Looks like Good and Plenty.
Yeah, which I hate licorice. So
I love Good and Plenty. Darn you. Okay.
So let's just talk about general people drugs in dogs.
Okay.
You should never give your dog any kind of people drug without talking to a veterinarian.
Gotcha.
Ibuprofen is a perfect example. Ibuprofen can cause liver and kidney failure in dogs because they just can't break it down. So anytime we eat food, take a medicine, it's a molecule. And let's say it's this big. Well, in order to go through our system and be filtered out, it has to be broken up into small enough pieces that our body can make it go through liver, kidney, capillaries, all this stuff.
Sure.
We have enzymes that can break ibuprofen down, and let's say it has to be broken down 3 times. We can do that. Dogs don't have one or multiple, I can't honestly remember, of those enzymes to break it down. So what happens is it stays too big and it starts glomming everything up and causes organs to not work.
That's scary stuff.
So the big problem is when that happens is, let's all understand that when they open a bottle of ibuprofen, writes down how many they took on the bottle, so we know how many are left.
I think this was a new jar. It hadn't been opened, and the dog knocks it over, they tear it open. Now, by the way, let's just try to be reasonable. If I've got a pill and I'm going to put one in my mouth and it falls out of my hand because I'm a clumsy oaf, and the dog jumps on it and eats one of them.
You should call poison control.
1 ibuprofen can take out a dog's liver.
Depends on mashed tater.
Well, mashed tater, smaller.
A lab, no, but it's all
based on the size. Okay, so they took no chances, like I said.
Correct.
And the odds are they probably did eat a few, and so they had to go.
And so a lot of times you'll count them and see what you get, but then you're missing 30.
You don't know.
Right, you don't know. This is what we see a lot. So we get them to vomit. We give activated
that's what they
charcoal.
did.
We put them on IV fluids. We check blood levels, and then they run them on IV fluids for usually 24 to
They monitored them for
48
24 hours. They
right?
did.
And then they check levels again. So it's just really important. There are 2 poison controls for animals. I have called them myself for my dog. My cats knocked my little pill minder off of the counter, and anything that gets knocked off the counter by the cats, I think the cats are trying to kill the dog.
Oh, yeah, because they're not going to eat it.
The dog chews up. She's like, ah! So she fortunately hasn't done this in a while, but she has
Cats
done
are
this.
so darn
They
clever.
are so clever. One of them is actually currently trying to kill me as well, but that's a different story.
Oh, okay.
But I literally at 6 o'clock in the morning was on the phone with poison control for animals. Now, poison control for animals costs money. It's not like people. It's, I think, a $65 or $70 fee. It is worth every penny.
It's a membership. You get that. And
No, it's not a membership. It's that per
that
exposure.
one time you call them, the one time. Well, what do
So
they do besides tell you, oh, that'll kill your dog?
Well, they tell you you need to go directly to the vet, and then what happens is they give you a case number. When you get to the vet, your vet can call them and use that case number for the life of. For as long as it takes to get this settled for this exposure. They give treatment recommendations. You're talking to a board-certified toxicologist. So I can't tell you how many
vets
dogs
use them as well.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I typically tell people, if they get into something, I am going to have to call them. I don't know every single drug out there.
I see.
So you can call them, and if they're like, your dog's going to be fine, this is at the dose your dog got this, it's not a problem. Now you're done. So $65 and you don't have to go to the vet. This is great.
Yep.
But if they're like, your dog needs treatment, your vet can use that case number, excuse me, and get all of the treatment recommendations, what specifically to look for. Is this a liver problem? Is this a kidney problem? I had a dog that ate Ritalin, maybe. And I wasn't aware that it would cause a couple of, I knew that some of the stuff it would cause, but we were monitoring blood pressure, and it can cause it to be kind of neurologic. So there were certain things that we were looking for that I probably wouldn't have known that much about, because it's not an animal drug. It's not in our formularies.
Yeah.
So we don't really know exactly what to look for. So it's a huge opportunity for us to stop dogs from dying or getting even more sick.
And moving on it when you know they've taken it, and not waiting until they show symptoms.
No, that's the bad.
Take a break on that note. Good advice on that. And maybe when we come back, you can tell where you find that phone number to make those calls. We'll take a break, come back. We also have phone calls in right now. Diane and others, if you have questions for that, we'll get to you right after this. Stay with us.